Hello, good evening, Dr. Lewis. Apologize for my demeanor. I spent 2.5 hours trying to get this video to work, so I'm kind of frustrated, but I'm just going to plow through it and go ahead and finish this assignment tonight. And it's how to implement EHRs by myself, David Otto, for Dr. Lewis. January 12th, 2005 was when I completed this, and then did some additions with the new instructions. So how to implement EHRs of planning. So this was based on the Office of the National Coordination for Health Information Technology, as seen at the bottom. I'm going to try and move this screen to the other side so I could read the references as I go through. So the planning phase is you want to make sure you familiarize yourself with the various EHR products that are available, noting the difference in the service models. There's OEM, which is the outward ownership or purchase of it, or you could do a monthly licensing agreement, paying monthly in perpetuity. You need to learn about the EHR products and the different vendors who offer the software. It's important to know about customization, how this has affected the global software updates. And then identify and prioritize your EHR's technical and operational requirements, noting what your hardware and software are for your clinic and what updates you may need for that. You need to do due diligence and finding whatever EHR is going to best suit your needs for what your practice is wanting to produce with respect to records and compliance. And so no software will be perfect, but it's imperative to choose a software that has a lot more pros than cons, and try and get the one that fits your office the best with the least amount of cons. So you're going to have understanding certification and regulatory requirements. And so you're not going to try to be the expert at these legal requirements. Rather, you're going to let the software and the resources do that for you, as well as the sales reps who are commissioned with the sale of your software, so they know the software pretty well inside and out. And then you're going to have a procurement strategy planning and resourcing. And this is about getting the implementation with budget planning, initial costs to implement the software, and then ongoing maintenance costs of software, particularly these supporting costs, which can be quite large. So how to implement these EHRs, there's 5 remaining steps in the journey. One is selecting a vendor after you're thoroughly reached your planning stage, which we just covered in detail on the last slide. You need to contact that vendor and make sure you get licensed, pull the lever, the handle on this, sign on the bottom line, push the green button, get all set to go and adopt and implement this new EHR. Utilizing this data transfer and hardwire physical network setup that we talked about in the previous slide. You need clinic-wide training established. For me, I only had 1 or 2 employees, but if you're choosing the software for a large clinic of 30 or 40 employees, or a hospital or hospital system, you're going to make sure that you have a really well thought out adopting and implementation plan. We want clinic-wide training established and start with the real-time learning by using the EHR in the clinic, and possibly even start with 1 test patient to see how the whole process goes with that software. And you're going to optimize or replace your EHR with ongoing software updates. So there's usually a soft transfer. So for example, in my office, we switch EHRs maybe 2 or 3 times, and it's a big ordeal, and you pay extra money for the people to take your data from one software into the other, but there's never a 100% transfer, which was really illustrated to me tonight when I spent 2.5 hours trying to get this video thing to work. None of the softwares that I did worked until I finally just switched computers to a 1-screen computer instead of the 4 monitors that I have. And maybe that was the issue I was experiencing with all 4 or 5 software programs. So even though I was extremely frustrated It actually worked out an example for EHR software implementation with respect to hardware needs. Uh, According to the California Healthcare Foundation's EMR Evaluation Tool User Guide, there were a bunch of these softwares listed. Again, I completed this assignment prior to the change, so I kept this resource, but I also included other resources that were listed in the new instructions for this assignment. The three systems that I chose to evaluate were Epic Systems, Cerner Corporation, and Next Gen Healthcare. Through my research, I found that two of these were the top two are the excellent. And then the other one I knew to be excellent and knew I wanted to report on it because that will be the software that I implement into my own clinic. Or excuse me, my own new clinic, the one that I reopened. So how to implement EHRs, implementing and adopting an EHR system. So I created this Excel spreadsheet from scratch with the headers being the variables and then comparing two software side by side. So first variable is market share, where Epic has the largest market share and then Cerner has the second largest market share. Client base is large networks versus government. Now I'm just going to do a comparison side by side since you're looking at the slide, not reading every single word to you, but I'm comparing Epic and then Cerner. So that it's intuitive versus flexible, increased workflows or increase but harder. Customization on workflows, customization on harder. So the interoperability, that's more within itself versus better integration. Data exchange, there's Care Everywhere is the name of the program for Epic versus Commonwealth Health Alliance. The cost is tremendous amount of financial investment with Epic, both the implementation investment and then ongoing cost in perpetuity. Where Cerner, there are ongoing costs that were mentioned by the research from Select Hub, which is noted in the bottom right-hand corner. Support and training is extensive training, strong support within, strong support within the hospital systems. I was working at Baptist, started my first or fourth day was when they started Epic training. So I had Cerner for 3 days and then we switched to Epic. So I had the advantage of being trained by Epic specialists as it was implemented into the hospital on my fourth day of working at the hospital. Whereas with Cerner, it's less standardized, but yet the support has been voted good by its users with a Likert scale of 1 to 5. User satisfaction is tremendously high with Epic, which is my experience as well, which is why I will choose it for my clinic. And then there's mixed reviews with the Cerner model. Now, comparing Epic with Next Gen Healthcare, we have the same variables listed on the left, and the comparison is as follows. Market share, Epic is still first, obviously, and then Next Gen is a small to mid-size software for practices that focus more on ambulatory care. So ambulatory care centers. And that's important in this analysis because it's more specialized in Epic and has a niche market. So in the client base in Epic, it's a huge market, whereas Next Gen, it is just the ambulatory EHR market. So I try and corner that niche. User experience with Epic is intuitive, whereas the other one caters to the specific needs of the ambulatory market. Higher workflows versus flexibility. More working interoperable with themselves versus integrations with multiple third-party systems. Implementation is long process with Epic. It can take a year up to 2 years to get it fully integrated because it is such an amazing, all-encompassing software. And something to note about that is it's very customizable. So when I worked at Baptist, it was very different than when I worked with the same software at UF Health, and they were both cardiology units, just different hospitals, different implementation of the same Epic software. Whereas with the next gen, it is very straightforward implementation process. It says it's a niche ambulatory centers. The cost is again huge with Epics, and the next gen healthcare model is a subscription-based pricing model. So that's basically monthly in perpetuity. You don't ever own it; you just always pay for it. The support and training, again, extensive with Epic, and pretty comprehensive as well on the next gen side. User satisfaction, again, Epic is very high, and it's actually really high with next gen in its niche with efficiency that it brings to the daily operation of the business. Now, why would I choose Epic as my EHR? Well, I've alluded to this over the last couple slides, and it's just an amazing program. I love it. Every place I've worked after that, I said, hey, why are we not working using Epic? So I will probably not buy a huge software system that's needed at a hospital at my clinic. But if I was in charge of buying software for a hospital, it would be Epic, hands down. And the reason I would choose it if I had to for my own clinic is because I'm familiar with the software, having used it at Baptist and UF Health. And as I said, it will be a overkill for a small office, but it will grow with me due to its scalability. Excuse me. Extensive patient engagement tools are built right into the system to save time and money and increase the retention of patients. It also integrates really well with other clinical software tools. So if I decided to be a physician again and doing biophysics work, I would have digital x-rays that I would take, and they would be integrated in with Epic as a very wide, broad software that incorporates all kinds of different softwares. So why choose Epic? This is a continuation per the new updated assignment requirements circa 214.25. So the ease of documentation with the SOAP notes, to elaborate yet, it's easy to use modifications of drop-down lists, checkboxes, and smart phrases or macros. The e-prescribing as a digital management and organization of multiple orders from multiple providers for each patient. Order entry streamlines the workflow efficiency to cut down holds up in the system while simultaneously automating compliance documentation. So that's truly amazing that all this happens in the background while you're doing your notes. The templates for implementing these patient visits and progress notes are also amazing with Epic, very customizable, as we talked about in the Excel spreadsheet tables. We have pre-filled SOAP notes that are set up for your individual clinic or hospital, and that decreases the note-taking time by carrying over unchanged data from previous visits. So for example, at Baptist, we would chart by exception, meaning that you only chart for things that are changed or abnormal. And so you wouldn't actually need to put the same thing over and over and over again. But at UF Health, for instance, they did not charge by exception. And if you did a physical exam and 90% of it was normal, you would have to document normal, showing that you did the test and that it was normal. And that would carry over in Epic. So that's pretty amazing. One of the multitude of features of which I would choose Epic for. So in summary, there are 6 steps critical to planning for software implementation, ranging from types of products, comparing the ERH products and its vendors, identifying and prioritizing operational requirements, doing the due diligence to find the best match, understanding certification and regulatory requirements and procurement strategies. And again, all of these points are well referenced, not only with these in slide citations, but also we'll see on the next slides the references to all of these points that are being made. And the top three softwares in summation, Epic Systems, which is what I would choose, Cerner Corporation, which is what I learned for a few days at Baptist, and Next Gen Healthcare, which I've never seen before, but I thought to be very interesting because it was a niche software for ambulatory clinics. This last line has no reference because it is my personal choice, and that is in just summary of my data, my personal experience is that Epic, it was the easiest choice of the three for me and the needs of my future clinic. And here are the references. I will allow the camera or program to record these 5 references. Please do note that the last 2 seem to be the same, but they're actually different web pages on the same source. So those are listed separately.